Yesterday, President Trump said he would ask the Supreme Court for an expedited ruling to overturn an appeals court decision that found most of his tariffs are illegal. Joining us now is Ben Shapiro, co-founder of the Daily Wire. His latest book, Lions and Scavengers, The True Story of America and Her Critics, is out. We could have started rolling the cameras. We're almost ready to do that.
I think we should start a YouTube show during the commercial break.
Where we just
no
talk
joke.
About.
That's
the name of the show, during the break.
Yeah, during the break.
So, Ben, we're going to
Bingo. Look.
You classic conservative. We're going to talk about all these things. We'll just say before we started, we were kind of talking about how President Trump, there are certain things that classic conservatives probably like and certain things that rub classic conservatives the wrong way. Someone here, I won't mention any names, might have made the point that the counterfactual would have been Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
Yes.
So as bad as it gets for classic conservatives, the counterfactual to some people, and again, I'm not going to mention any names, to some people, it was quite frightening at what the alternative would have been.
Mention names?
I'm not mentioning any names. And it was a binary election.
Yes. I mean, I think that is always the math that conservatives are trying to do is, are you grading Trump against what would have been if he had not been president, which obviously would have been much, much worse from a conservative perspective, or are you grading Trump against what you wish he were, which would be like, say, fewer tariffs, less command and control economics, less taking stakes in companies like Intel. So, I think that it's fair to critique President Trump on all those things, and also to keep in mind that the alternative would have been massive taxation, massive overregulation, a shutdown of the economy in many ways.
Can you still say, and I said this, can you still say don't sacrifice the good for the perfect?
I mean, I think always.
That's what we have to say. I'll just say one thing about Intel, and this is where I finally found some solace. The CHIPS Act gave them that money with the craziest conditions attached to it. Perfect democratic, the way they do industrial policy. At least at this point, isn't it better to get a 10% stake for that, giving them whatever it was, $9 billion, and saying you got to have child care and DEI, you got to pay union wages? Isn't this less bad? Can't you say, okay, it's
yes.
all right?
I mean, I think that it is less bad. And then the best would have been rescission, right? I mean, the best would have been if Trump actually wanted to cut, he would actually try to rescind a lot of that spending in the way that he has done.
Just don't even give it to him at all.
Well, yeah. I mean, because now you have the government. If Intel
was that possible? Or was it possible to just...
I mean, they're trying rescission on a bunch of other stuff. So theoretically, they could have tried to cut off the funding and go to Congress to try and actually renege on some of that funding.
How about the NVIDIA? You give us a cut and you can do whatever you want.
I mean, that I think has less to do with the government taking in revenue from NVIDIA. And that's a really open question as to whether NVIDIA should be selling H-20s in China. I mean, that's a real national security issue. That really is. And I think that if we're trying to box in China, then there are a lot of things that I wish the Trump administration were doing to further box in China, including, by the way, lowering tariffs on India, South Korea, Japan,
so do you think it's a mistake, then, to allow these chips to be sold at all? Or do you think that there's the VIG, if you will, has anything to do with this? I mean, the thing I've argued is...
The Chinese don't even want the H-20s anymore.
Right. The thing I've argued is if we want to allow these chips... I get the argument of trying to get these chips to them in the idea that it's going to maybe push out competition. If you think we can win competitively, that's to me a good idea, potentially.
Maybe. I mean, my friend Mike Gallagher over at Palantir has made the point that would we sell the components for missiles to the Soviets in the middle of the Cold War just to make sure that they're on our platform? If the idea is that AI is an actual national security threat, you don't want to be handing the most sophisticated chips or anything even remotely like the most sophisticated chips to a geopolitical opponent of the United States.
I just think of the 5G situation where basically we got pushed out and Huawei really, put their 5G technology in Africa and all sorts of places around the world.
I'm not saying we shouldn't sell H-20s to Africa as much as I don't think Africa is really, looking for H-20s
right now, yes.
Well, and how much of it becomes...
They're looking for H2O.
Well, how much of it becomes issues where they, in turn, eventually pass it on to the Chinese? That's been the question.
I mean, if we worry about the Chinese stealing our IP, we may as well worry about, the 600,000 Chinese students who are coming into our universities. I mean, that's actually a major issue for conservatives as well. And again, this comes back to, I think, what you were saying earlier. Are we grading Trump against what would have been, in which case much better than what would have been, or are we grading him against what I would love to see? And, I think that we can do both. I think we can be honest about saying it would have been way worse if Kamala Harris were president. And we can also say, I wish that the policy on some of these matters were better.
Can I ask, though, you point out the idea of rescission going back to Congress to get some of these things done. It feels like the Trump administration is pushing boundaries. and knowing a lot of this is going to get litigated through the courts.
I mean, unfortunately, that's been true since the Obama administration, right?
But why not just go back? At this point, you've got control of the Senate. Go back to the Senate and ask for the permission to be able to do these tariffs rather than to have businesses wait while this whole thing gets drawn through. Or is the entire intent to say, yes, we want to litigate this? We want to see what the Supreme Court
says. No, I think that the president really does want the tariffs. I mean, I think that he believes that he's going to bring manufacturing back on shore and that he's going to rejigger balance of trade and all this sort of stuff. I think that the question of the Senate is really one of the filibuster. And the proposal that my friend Jeremy Boring has made, and I think that it's right, is that actually the Senate majority leader should go to the Democrats in the Senate and say, you know what, you like the filibuster when we're in power, and we like the filibuster when you're in power. How about a constitutional amendment to enshrine the filibuster, and it gets passed within the next 12 months or we nuke it? Right, because it seems to me that if you want to set the rules going forward, then set the rules going forward. But I think what everyone is fearful of, on both the right and the left, is that the side I don't like is going to nuke the filibuster and then do whatever the hell they want the minute they gain control of the Senate.
I got a tariff question for you, which is how you think about tariffs, how you think about national security in the context of tariffs. We have an automobile industry that we talk about all the time that I think if we had no tariffs, we would be effectively taken over by BYD and the Chinese car companies. I don't know if you think that's... but I think people would be able to buy cars at much.
I'm not buying a BYD.
No, you'd be able to buy much cheaper prices. You'd have real competition in the market, and eventually, I think it would be probably very bad for Detroit. By the way, Elon Musk has said that we would be slaughtered.
And Germany.
And by the way, I think it would hurt VW too. I mean, it would hurt all of these.
I wasn't talking about VW.
Oh, okay. It would hurt all of these. It would hurt all of these companies. And so the question is there a national security issue to making sure that we manufacture cars in this country? By the way, we don't manufacture even, for the most part, refrigerators in this country. You would think that's a national security issue if you thought, you need to have all this stuff made
tariffs the solution
here.
Well, I think that the national security implications are less to do with the car industry than to do with the kind of technology that China is loading up into the BYDs. I mean, this is a real national security issue because China does, in fact, gather data using every single tool at its disposal on all of their tools, which is why I think the Trump administration should shut down TikTok. Okay, Congress passed a law. TikTok needs to be shut down. This kind of playing games where you push off the limit on shutting down TikTok, which is a gigantic Chinese misinformation operation.
Where are the conservative Republicans in Congress and the Senate, screaming from the rooftops about this?
Well, I mean, I think there are some, but I mean, listen, the president of your own party is a very difficult person to stand up to on some of these matters, and I think that there also is the hope for a lot of Republicans, which I think is largely justified, that President Trump, everyone always thinks that the President Trump has no strategy to that's not right. President Trump has heterodox ideas, and then he is responsive to reality. So what he tends to do is push a limit, and then when the limit pushes back, then he accepts it and he adjusts.